Right. Good morning, Housing Authority Board of Directors, and over to you, Director Harrington.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for your patience. We have some action-packed agendas today. So welcome to the Housing Authority Board of Directors meeting. Clerk Moss, could you start us off with the formalities, please?
Thank you, Director Harrington. The Washington County Board of Commissioners is now meeting this regular session as the Washington County Board of Directors for the Housing Authority for April 4th, 2023. Director Roper.
Here.
Director Sabara.
Here.
Director Willie.
Here.
Director Treese.
Here.
Director Fye.
Here.
Director Rogers.
Here.
Director Harrington.
Here. April 4th already. Wow. Happy spring, everyone. Happy April. Next item on the agenda is public communication. This is an opportunity for members of our community to speak to the Housing Authority Board for up to 2 minutes a person. Clerk Moss, do we have anyone here in the room or online today?
Thank you, Director Harrington. I did not get a chance to see if anyone signed up. Would anyone in our room like to provide public comment to the Housing Authority for up to 2 minutes? Give you just a moment to stand up and walk forward toward the testimony table. Not seeing anyone. Would any members viewing this meeting via Zoom would like to provide public comment for up to 2 minutes to the Housing Authority? Give you just a moment to utilize the raise hand function. Not seeing any hands, Director Harrington.
Thank you, Clerk Moss. Next, we'll move on to our consent agenda. Today's consent agenda consists of 2 sets of meeting minutes. The first for March 7th, 2023, and the second minutes from our March 14th, 2023 meeting. That was a special meeting. What are the wishes of the Board of Directors?
Motion to approve.
A second.
Thank you. The motion was made by Director Savaro, seconded by Director Roper. All those in favor, please vote by saying aye or raising your hand. Thank you, directors. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 7-0. Next, we have a public hearing. So we have, our staff has done a great job of being approved as one of the few in the nation for the Moving to Work program. And as part of that, there is an annual plan that is needed. So we have our staff before us to present that plan to us today and hold the requisite public hearing. So I'd like to turn it over to the director of our housing department, Comey Calavar. Please take it away.
Good morning, Chair Harrington and Housing Authority Board of Directors. For the record, I'm Comey Calavar, Housing Director. We are required by HUD, Housing and Urban Development, a federal agency, to submit a plan every year, a Public Housing Authority plan. And so we are here this morning to ask for approval of our plan, including an MTW supplement. MTW is Move to Work. We want to make sure we minimize the acronyms. And so this is a document that we submit to HUD, and it requires a public hearing and board approval. So with that, I'll hand you over to Liz Morris and Melissa Sonsala to walk you through a staff presentation.
Welcome to you. It's always wonderful to have the subject matter experts before us. So please enlighten us.
Thank you. Good morning. For the record, I'm Liz Morris, Rental Assistance Program Manager.
And I'm Melissa Sonsala, Policy and Strategic Initiatives Coordinator.
All right. So we're required to submit an annual plan to HUD every year, and every 5 years to submit a more fuller document that establishes our goals and objectives. So this year, our annual plan is reporting the progress that meets our goals and objectives off the 2020 plan. So this plan includes new activities. Some of these activities were actually items we've been engaging in for some time, including our Section 18 disposition for our public housing scattered sites. So we continue to await approval, but are actively working with the residents in those properties to ensure that we have stable housing after the disposition is approved. We continue to use our project-based voucher program to Throughout the community, as we know that project-based vouchers are an excellent way of ensuring that affordable housing is accessible to our community, we plan to add 54 additional project-based vouchers to 4 different properties in 23-24 fiscal year. The plan also includes our moving to work activities, which we'll go into detail a little bit further. So this year's plan also includes a progress report of our 2025-year plan. These are really goals that are infused in the work that we do every day, such as increasing lease-up rates for our HCV, Housing Choice Voucher programs, formerly Section 8, continuing to improve the quality of public housing and affordable housing, and offering education and development courses through our Family Self-Sufficiency Program, FSS. This is why we like acronyms, so we don't like to stumble over the words, right? All right, and lastly, the PHA plan includes the necessary HUD forms to which this action is authorized for the chair to execute.
So as we talked about at our March Chabad meeting, this year's plan includes proposals for 3 moving to work waivers. The first is alternative payment standards. That's where we're establishing 2 different sets of payment standards, one for market rate housing and then one for affordable housing that has tax credits or other incentives attached to it. We are creating we're asking for a waiver to create a simplified utility allowance that will be easier for both staff to administer and for residents to understand. And lastly, we're asking for a waiver to create a local homeownership program that we feel like better serves our community and aligns with best practices sort of throughout the country. So with that, we've had a 45-day public comment period. We opened this up in February, posted everything to our website, and sent out notice to pretty much any email address we had. At our March 7th Chabad meeting, we previewed everything. And then we met with the Housing Advisory Committee on March 23rd. They previewed and recommended approval from the Chabad. We also met with our Resident Advisory Board, a group of residents who receive assistance from us. We met with them on March 28th, and they were very, very supportive of the activities that we're pursuing. And on March 30th, we had a community stakeholder meeting, mostly with other organizations and service partners. And then today is the formal public hearing before we finish and request approval. So with that, we are now open to any questions from the board before we open it up to public approval, or public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you for the overview. Directors, do you have any questions or comments at this point?
I have one question, Chair. Can you explain how we're getting 54 more project-based vouchers? Is it because of the MTW changes, or is it like this was always in the 5-year plan? And it might be super wonky, so I apologize, but just curious.
I can try to I can make it not so wonky.
Wow,
yeah.
that's a skill.
So our goal is to continue with our project-based and affordable housing. So sometimes we commit project-based, which is out of our whole allocation of our housing choice voucher. So it's not like we're getting an additional 54 like new allocations, even though we have other allocations that have increased our overall number.
Got it.
But so we're utilizing those to help process through new properties and developments that are coming on board. So like Nueva Esperanza, which is just opening, we've committed 8 there and a few others. So on into 23, 24, we have 54 project-based committed openings that are going to come online.
Thank you for explaining. That makes more sense.
We do have, with the one difference with our moving to work is that we can now commit more. So we used to be limited to 20% of our housing choice vouchers, which are tenant-based. We could only commit up to 20%. Or a specific percentage within any given property. Moving to work allows us to exceed those percentages. So now we can commit a lot more if we choose to do so.
Thank you.
Which, if I could jump in off of that, really speaks to what I have learned from all of you as subject matter experts as you first applied for moving to work, and as you have followed up on that overall 5-year plan and the annual detailed plan, all with transparency, but more importantly, accountability. But from my layperson's view, not being an expert in this whole domain, what I continue to get out of this is because of your diligence over the years and decades of working with HUD, you have shown the level of skill, transparency, and accountability to allow us to participate at this moving to work level so that you can have flexibility in administering programs that, from my standpoint, what I remember is that it helps maximize these public access for public good and service, and do so in a way that better serves our community customers, in a way that improves their lives, makes things a little less arduous for them, and allows us as a public agency to reduce the cost of implementation, which means that there are more dollars to put into action for more people here in our community. So it's just so heartwarming for me that we have the honor of having all three of you and more who are not seated at the table today in following up in these programs. So though your presentation didn't remind us explicitly, this is why we have striven for so long, if that's the right grammatically correct word, to secure this, why that outcome is so vital for serving our community. So anyway, let me check back in. Those were my comments. Thank you for segueing that. Are there any other board questions or comments before we go to public hearing? Okay, so seeing none, I'd like to open the public hearing on the annual Public Housing Agency Plan and Moving to Work Supplement.
Thank you, Director Harrington. Would anyone in the room like to provide public comment on this public hearing? Mr. Dale Fee, on the table.
We need to make way for a member of our community to testify in this public hearing.
Madam Chair Harrington and Commissioners, and hate to move out to the very important people that made this happen today, so thank you very much. I didn't plan to make public comment, but I certainly appreciate you, Chair Harrington, and your running for public office and holding firm to what you wanted to do, and the words that you said. I really appreciate your comments about skill, transparency, and accountability, and I think you ran on that when you ran to be reelected, and I see that as happening in practically all the actions you take, so I appreciate your words. I appreciate you, Nafisa Fai and Pam Treese, for being elected, and also Jerry Willie and Commissioner Rogers for working together as a team to make this happen. So I'm just saying thank you for all the hard work and what's happening for the people in Washington County, and your role model to follow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Feet.
Would any other members in the auditorium wish to provide comment on this public hearing? Give you just a moment to stand up or raise your hand. Let me know. Not seeing any additional room. Would any members in our online attendees wish to provide comment on this public hearing for up to 2 minutes? Give you just a moment to utilize the raise hand function. Not seeing any additional hands. Director Harrington.
Thank you, Clerk Moss. And with that, I would like to close today's public hearing and see if there are any other board comments. And if there aren't, I would also like to open the floor up for a motion to authorize the chair to execute the required Public Housing Agency, or PHA, certifications, and direct and authorize the executive director, that would be Mr. Calavar, to submit the annual Public Housing Agency Plan and Moving to Work Supplement to the Housing of Urban Development.
I move that we move forward on the motion on the table. not going to repeat that whole thing because that was.
I can get that.
Thank you. We have a motion from Director Savaro, a second from Director Roper. Any last comments or questions? No? Seeing none? If you're in approval of this motion, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 7-0. Thank you very much, staff, for this
Thank you.
exemplary work. And now, moving on to the action items, we have another very important item to help maximize the opportunity for safe and stable housing for our community members. We have a proposal before us to authorize and execute, as the formal language goes, all of the documents and whatnot so that we can provide funding for one of the Metro Affordable Housing Bond projects, Plambeck Garden Apartments. So please, staff, take it away.
Good morning, Chair Harrington and Housing Authority Board of Directors. We are very, very excited to bring the Plambeck Gardens to you this morning. It was formerly called the Basalt Creek. It's in Tualatin, and they had a change of name. The developer is Community Partners for Affordable Housing, CPA. They came with our 2020 notice of funding, and so this is the last of that group to get to this point. The rest of them are either completed or under construction. And so with much excitement that we bring this last one forward from the 2020 RFP. So with that, we have a PowerPoint to present, and Melissa Daly will do that for us.
Thanks, Comey. Chair Harrington, Board of Directors, I'm Melissa Daly, Housing Program Coordinator in the Housing Services Department. We're here today to ask for the final approval for Plambeck Gardens, the signing authority for our Executive Director on behalf of the Housing Authority, as well as later today at the Board of Commissioners on consent, asking for approval of the County Administrator to sign the closing documents on behalf of Washington County. We were last before the board on March 7th for final approval of the $14.7 million of Metro bond funding. And as Comey mentioned, we're here for Plambeck Gardens, formerly called Basalt Creek in Tualatin. Of note, it is directly east of 6.7 acres of the new Basalt Creek Canyon property that was purchased by the city of Tualatin with funds that were from Metro. So before you is the unit count, and I want to point out that of the 16 three-bedrooms, 5 of those will have project-based vouchers, and of the 6 four-bedroom units, 3 of those will have project-based vouchers. Next. Go ahead. 47 of the units will be at 30% of median family income. That's 41% of the units. Of the 8 project-based vouchers, those will also be permanent supportive housing. There are additional recreational opportunities provided at this property and a service partnership with Centro Cultural. The total amount of funding for this project, the total development costs are $67 million. The closing date is later this month on April 20th. We anticipate a 14 to 16 month construction timeline, and lease up would start in the fall of 2024. Okay. A summary of our roles here at the county. The Housing Authority is providing a partnership for an annual property tax waiver and also the 8 project-based vouchers. Washington County is providing $14.7 million of Metro bond funds, $1.2 million of home funds, and $500,000 of housing production opportunity funds. And that's it for our presentation. We're open for any questions.
Directors, do you have any questions or comments at this juncture? Go ahead, Director Savaro.
I just noticed in the briefing packet, you talked about the 8 listening sessions, and I think it was Unite Oregon. They moderated a community feedback session. I just wonder if you could tell us a little bit more about like what that was like. If you have any, just notes from partnering with Unite Oregon. I know they do a lot of great work around Washington County to support folks, and just curious if you had any specific direction from those feedback sessions.
Well, to be honest, I was not part of that work. We did have a specific staff person at that time who was devoted to that work and actually received call out from Metro on the work that we had done. Kami, did you want to talk more about that?
Right. So we had a AmeriCorps volunteer at that time. So they did a lot of the community work for us. But with Unite Oregon, we started working with them during the pandemic to reach out, and we've used them even for our portfolio rehab. And many of the larger bedrooms is because of their work, because they advocate when you do development, the big, 3 and 4 bedrooms, the marketplace doesn't do them because they're costly to build and costly to maintain. But we, as a public, we try to incorporate some of those larger units. And Unite Oregon and their group was very big in advocating for those larger units. And with our portfolio rehab, they actually talk to the interface because people don't like to move. And even though the rehab is going to make their living space better, they still don't like it. So we have Unite Oregon be the interface in those conversations. Bonita Villa was one of our portfolio, our properties in Tigard. 96 units, I think. Anyway, high number of units, but that was very challenging, and Unite Oregon really stepped up in working with us.
That's awesome. I really appreciate that we're partnering with a community-based organization like them to get feedback and insights from community members that we might not have come to a public hearing if we just posted and sort of went the typical route. So I think it's great that we're being proactive in our outreach posture and also partnering with an organization that has the trust of so many community members. So just echoing that's awesome that we're really thinking about how to reach community members, that their voices aren't always in government processes. They're not always able to come to the table. So thank you for that.
All right.
Thank you, Director Savaro, for bringing that question forward and for the conversation that brought this to life. I'm challenged at the moment because I can only contribute that I know that we have documentation on our website that enumerates how our staff did put together these exemplary programs for community engagement. I'll phrase it of nothing for us without us. And so with all of the affordable housing bond projects, but also the rehab projects for the existing portfolio, our housing team, both with the development of additional affordable housing units through that bond, but also through the supportive housing services, has ensured that we have that level of community engagement particularly with our historically underserved community members working with community-based organizations. And our staff continues to represent that in small mentions such as here, right? But also in the annual reports and quarterly reports that they have to provide to the Oversight Committee. But we have not highlighted that, for example, to our Advisory Council on Racial Equity to date, so that they see how we, in fact, have been operationalizing equity through all of this work. So we are challenged to do a better job there, to represent the good work that our staff is doing. And I'll have to go back, for example, to see where we have those reports posted so that we can remind ourselves when we get to these final phases, right, these junctures, to continue to tell that story of exemplary engagement. So thank you so much for your question and bringing that to light. Are there any other questions and comments? Go ahead.
Just one comment. Comey, nice job to you and your staff. It's very complex, the financing, and these things just don't all of a sudden happen with a little money from this source or that. You cobbled together a whole bunch of different resources. So thanks. I know Tualatin, when I've been talking with their various electeds and around their various groups, they're very proud of this particular development occurring. So thank you to all of that. And I hope you come to that opening in August of '24. Even though you may be retired by then, I hope you come back and take a few bows, because you certainly deserve it. So you're going to be there on the 24th of August, or whenever it is?
I plan to be there from retirement.
And we should all be there. So that is looking ahead. I'm just adjusting to the fact that it's April of 2023, but I very much look forward to that event in August of 2024. I'm going to do something that may seem out of order, but it is not unusual. We have, with Planbeck Gardens, the executive director of the Community Partners for Affordable Housing, also known as SEPA, wasn't able to physically join us for the presentation, but she is here virtually, and I neglected to identify her earlier in the presentation. So at this juncture, I would like to ask Clerk Moss if he could advance Ms. Rachel Duke to also bring this milestone to life for us. Rachel, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, indeed. Please go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you very much. We're so grateful to the Housing Authority and to the County Board of Commissioners for helping to make this project happen. I also wanted to answer Mike's question about some of the things we heard during the feedback sessions around concerns feedback from the community. That was really, a lot of it was around screening criteria and how people come into our housing as well. So all of the things that Comey said are absolutely true. But in addition, we did hear from folks that they want to make sure that our housing is accessible so that they can move in. And so that was really great feedback as well, of course. But this is just me saying thank you on behalf of Community Partners for Affordable Housing. We are so excited to break ground on this project and to deliver these apartments to the community. Thanks.
So with that, directors, I would like to ask for a motion to approve the resolution and order in the matter, authorizing our executive director to execute all required documents and instruments for the further construction and development of the Planbeck Garden Apartments.
Motion to approve it.
I second.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. And if for the display, if we could flash back to the very first slide by any chance. Just to close us on the high note with our eyes. All those in favor of approving this resolution and order through this motion, please raise your hand or say aye. Thank you, directors. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 7-0. And we look forward to our further action in our next meeting on the consent agenda. Thank you for the hard work you do each and every day. All right, next we have our second public communication opportunity for the Housing Authority Board of Directors. Clerk Moss, do we have anyone who wishes to speak to us for up to 5 minutes?
All right, would any members in our auditorium wish to provide comment to the Housing Authority for up to 5 minutes? Give you just a moment to raise your hand or come forward. Not seeing anyone in the room. Would any members in our Zoom attendees wish to provide comment for up to 5 minutes? Give you just a moment to utilize the raise hand function. Not seeing any additional hands. Director Harrington.
Thank you very much, Clerk Moss. And at this juncture, I would like to ask for any announcements from our Housing Authority Board of Directors. Go ahead, Director Roper.
I'd just like to let the community know that we are having another Kaleidoscope event. Community Action will be hosting it on April 19th. You can either attend it in person or virtually at the Patricia Reeser Arts Center of Arts, and that's in Beaverton. So I encourage everyone to go check it out. It's a great event. I'm a huge fan of it, so just thought I'd throw that out there. The doors do open at 5 and it starts at 6:30. So, and you can RSVP for your tickets through the community action, CAO.org.
Thank you, Director Roper. And if I might ask Ms. Angie, for the benefit of our full Housing Authority Board of Directors, could you repeat and share what you shared with us during our work session leadership communication regarding Governor Kotek's emergency declaration and funding for eviction prevention?
Oh, thank you, Chair Harrington. Staff will update the Housing Authority Board of Directors with this correspondence once it's complete, so it is transparent and open to the public. Staff continue to work on and develop its operational plan to uphold the Governor's emergency declaration. Of note, the Governor's office had asked us to actually take out the eviction assistance dollars. That may come as a surprise. However, due to the sheer nature and importance of eviction assistance, the state is directly allocating funds through OCHS to Community Action Network for eviction assistance. That it does relate to 2.38 or 2.58 million.
Yep.
I don't have that number right in front of me. However, that is good news because we are continuing to get more federal dollars in eviction assistance to the community. We continue to be appreciative for our partnership with the state, Community Action, and other community-based organizations that have been just so instrumental over the COVID pandemic in getting eviction assistance dollars out to the community and really seeing the art of the possible and getting these dollars out even more quickly. So just really proud of the partnerships around and that we can continue this program.
Thank you. I just wanted to ensure that Directors Savara and Roper had the opportunity to hear that as they're investing their time and expertise to serve with our staff in doing the great work of the Housing Authority. So thank you very much. Are there any other Board of Director announcements for today? Seeing none, I would ask for a motion to adjourn the Tuesday, April 4th, 2023 Housing Authority Board of Directors meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion from Director Savaro, a second from Director Roper, and I would like to thank each of them also for attending our special meeting in person. All those in favor of adjournment, please raise your hand or say aye. Thank you, directors. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 7-0, and we are hereby adjourned. And we'll give our staff the opportunity to switch us over to the Board of Commissioners meeting. Thank you and be well. So where's my chocolates going to get me through the next meeting? Huh?
I had to borrow $10 from Pam to get.
You better pay back your loans there.
I know, the clock's ticking on the interest already. Yeah.
Good morning, Board of County Commissioners. Welcome back, and over to you, Chair Harrington.
Thank you, everyone, and welcome to our April 4th, 2023 Washington County Board of Commissioners meeting. Clerk Moss, could you do us the honors, please?
Certainly, Madam Chair. The Washington County Board of Commissioners, also meeting as the Board of Directors of Clean Water Services and all other county service districts, is now meeting this regular session, April 4th, 2023. Commissioner Fye.
Present.
Commissioner Treese.
Here.
Commissioner Willie.
Here.
Vice Chair Rogers.
Here.
Chair Harrington.
Here. Thank you, Clerk Moss. We have a full complement of commissioners this morning, or yes, still morning. The next item on our agenda is public communication. This is an opportunity for community members to come and address us for up to 2 minutes, an individual for a maximum of 10 minutes. Clerk Moss, do we have anyone who wishes to speak with us today?
Yes, we do, Madam Chair. First up, we have Dale Feek.
Mr. Feek.
Thank you, Madam Chair Harrington. And Commissioners, I'm Dale Feek, Chair of the Washington County Citizen Action Network. Commissioner Willa, you said, Dale, your email today was the shortest it's ever been. Thank you very much. I'm trying to follow your lead here and keeping it short and simple. I did email a few of the committee, well, Chair Harrington and the Director of Emergencies Department of Washington County, John Wheeler, and also Scott Porter, an email related to what you have in front of you right now. It has to do with local emergency planning committee meetings, and it has to do with the state training of local emergency planning committee members, which is going to be in Redmond, April the 18th through the 20th. I am the only citizen on that group, and I'll be attending that meeting in Redmond and learning more about how local emergency planning committees can work effectively and help protect the public from extremely hazardous materials that are in our communities. At the work session, you complimented people on the staff of the county. I know that Scott Porter has not retired yet because he's still on special assignment working on developing these local, it's called site-specific plans for emergency. There'll be about 40 of them. They have about 28 to 30 already done. So he's really working to complete that before he retires. So I'm doing a call out on him and what he's done, and because we have excellent emergency planning staff people. You said it was short, but if you take a look at the link and look at that, it'll take you more time than you want. I made public comment on that training, and I let you know where I made that comment, and I compliment the county on what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Feek. Would any other members in the auditorium wish to provide comment for up to 2 minutes on any county-related topic? Just raise your hand or start moving forward. Not seeing any additional there. Would anyone viewing this meeting via Zoom like to provide public comment on any county-related topic for up to 2 minutes? Give you just a moment to utilize raise hand function. Not seeing any hands. Chair Harrington.
Thank you, Clerk Moss. And with that, we'll move on to our consent agenda. We have a long consent agenda today for this first meeting of a new quarter. We have 20 different items, 1 set of minutes, 2 items from Clean Water Services, 1 item from Support Services, 1 item from the Office of Community Development, 2 items from Health and Human Services, 1 item from the Housing Department that we had a presentation on just prior to this at the Housing Authority Board of Directors. So if you want to learn more, please tune into that. And then the prize for the day is our Land Use and Transportation Department with 11 different items. And completing the whole suite, we have 1 item from the Sheriff's Office. What are the wishes of the commission regarding today's consent agenda? We have a motion from Commissioner Rogers.
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Fye. All those in favor of adopting today's consent agenda? Yes, thank you. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. Thank you, commissioners. Today's a special day, as is all days, but today we have 3 different proclamations, which highlights the really important work that is happening throughout our county, not just by Washington County as an agency, but often through partners as well. So today we're going to start off first regarding an effort out of our Health and Human Services Department to recognize, proclaim, April 3rd through the 9th, 2023 as Public Health Week. And I'd like to turn it over to the Health and Human Services Director, Mira Samantel, at this point. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Chair Harrington. Well, good morning, Chair Harrington, Board of County Commissioners. As the Chair said, for the record, my name is Mira Samantel. I'm the Director of Health and Human Services. I am so pleased to be here today for the proclamation for National Public Health Week. We have an incredible team of staff who are going to share some wonderful highlights to celebrate our success for today's proclamation. So I don't take up space here since we have a handful of presenters. I'm going to go ahead and introduce Marie Bowman-Davis, who is our Public Health Division Manager and Local Public Health Administrator. Marie will go ahead and kick things off and introduce the team for your benefit. I will let you know that staff are available if it pleases your board for a brief photo opportunity after the proclamation. Completely up to you, but wanted to let you know they are available.
We're going to take up that invitation, so let there be no one sitting on the edge of their chair wondering. And I'm so excited to see you all today. I've learned so much, as well as my colleagues have, about public health. So thank you for bringing all this to life, and I appreciate your leadership, Marie Bowman-Davis, as our Public Health Division Manager. Please take it away.
Thank you, Chair Harrington. Good morning, Chair Harrington and Board of County Commissioners. For the record, my name is Marie Bowman-Davis. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I'm the Public Health Division Manager and the Local Public Health Administrator appointed by your board. We are here today to request your board, as the governing body of the Local Public Health Authority, to join other jurisdictions across the nation in declaring April 3rd through 9th as National Public Health Week. Presentation clicker, please. Oh, sure. My apologies. There we go. So this year's theme, Centering and Celebrating Cultures in Health, is an opportunity to highlight the progress we've made as a division and as an organization overall, to better center equity within our work, to prioritize the knowledge and expertise the community holds as we work collaboratively towards healthier communities. We celebrate the unique and joyful ways different cultures focus on health and learn from each other with humility and openness. Through authentic engagement and power sharing, we are improving our understanding and approaches to honor the intersectional impacts of social, political, and structural determinants of health and well-being. At the conclusion of this week, we will celebrate by hosting a networking lunch for our community partners. Event participants will be able to strengthen connections with other organizations, meet public health leadership and staff, and learn about partnership opportunities with the Public Health Division to achieve health equity for our diverse communities. I'm pleased to share that this year's theme aligns with our vision of healthy people and thriving communities. Today, you will hear from our Community Partnership Supervisor, Genevieve Ellis, about a 2-year project funded by the Office of Minority Health. Next, you will hear from our Maternal Child and Family Program Supervisor, Rebecca Collette, and her team member, Evan Weaver, about culturally responsive reproductive health projects. And finally, the proclamation will be read by our first Public Health Deputy Division Manager, Dr. Folu Adeniye. I'll now turn it over to Genevieve.
Thank you, Marie. Good morning, Chair Harrington and Commissioners. I'm so happy to be here to talk to you about And for the record, my name is Genevieve Ellis. I'm the Community Partnership Supervisor for Public Health. I am so proud to be here to talk to you about our Advancing Health Literacy Grant. In 2021, we received a $4 million federal award from the Office of Minority Health. And the purpose was to really grow our community health worker workforce, increase our personal and organizational health literacy, and increase COVID-19 vaccinations among the Latinx community in Washington County. Community health workers, under the umbrella of traditional health workers, have long been a key strategy for communities in reducing health disparities. This funding allowed us to invest in building capacity and support for this workforce to provide culturally and linguistically responsive services. So through this grant, we worked with 12 community-based organizations from the Latino community. We increased the community health worker workforce by 11 FTE. And these community health workers reached over 20,000 individuals. Over half of those spoke a primary language other than English, including Spanish, Quechua, and Zapotec. The community health workers provide support with things like finding a clinic, connecting to food resources or other social determinants of health, and having those key conversations with people to increase their vaccine confidence. The community health workers also helped build the Learning Collaborative, which was a collaborative, peer-led space, and this collaborative helped create a series of health literacy learning modules, which are currently being adapted for the healthcare setting. And we are excited at the end of this project to be able to share those learning modules with other healthcare organizations to help them better provide culturally and linguistically responsive services. So last, I just want to say a big thank you to our project partners. We could not have done this without their leadership. And I will pass it to Rebecca. Thank you.
Thanks. Good morning. Sorry, good morning. It is morning still. Okay, good morning, Chair Harrington and Commissioners. Thank you for having us. My name is Rebecca Collette, and I use she, her, and hers pronouns, and I oversee our maternal child and family program, and really appreciate the opportunity anytime I can come talk about families, babies, and reproductive health. And my coworker, Evan, today he's our early life systems supervisor, and he also is going to help share some of the highlights of our program today. But our
Could you repeat Evan's?
Evan Weaver. Yes.
Oh, yes.
So our team really partners with systems, organizations, communities, families, and individuals from reproduction through a family's parenting journey to support healthy, stable, and nurturing environments for children, youth, and families living, working, learning, and playing in Washington County. So, oops, I am so bad at doing clickers. All right, team, which button do I press?
I think you just, there we go.
Okay, there we go. Even though those are some of our partners too. So we've developed a mission. Together, we thrive to build nurturing and welcoming environments for families to thrive, something that our team really worked on for the last year because we have a very integrated team of nurses, community health workers, program coordinators, parent educators, the whole realm from prenatal through youth. So some of the things that our team focuses on, which a lot of our team is right out there, is promoting physical, social, emotional health and safety for families, really focusing on decreasing the burden of accessing, coordinating, and receiving care, connecting children, youth, and families to community-based services, providing multilingual and culturally responsive parenting education supports and resources for our families, and partnering with community to provide culturally diverse perinatal care, early learning, and home visiting opportunities. So we have lots to share, but we were limited to a very small amount. So I'm going to turn it over to Evan to share some of our highlights for the year.
Hopefully,
Mike will pick me up. Yep, we're good. So it's nice to see you, Chair Harrington and Commissioners. I know I've been able to work with you guys before in various settings, and first time to be in front of you in the board meeting today, so it's a pleasure to do that. Just like Rebecca touched on, you know, our work kind of spans a lot of different areas, but to highlight a few things, we're able to really come into contact and support a lot of different community members and been successful at doing that, engaging them at community-specific events. You can see here that we've reached over 800 community members in doing these events and connecting them to kind of a centralized access points for perinatal services called Help Me Grow. We also try and fill in gaps when we find those in the community, and we started offering weekly caregiver support circles for new parents that speak English and Spanish. And we're also continuing to, just like Genevieve was speaking out, trying to build that capacity in our community through education and through, you know, and building up traditional health workers. And so one instance of that was doing education on reproductive health and perinatal health, and connecting with a lot of different providers and having them come in and be involved in workshops and education and doing professional development and getting credit for that so that they can continue to move along their own professional pathways and increase their impact in the community. And we're currently engaged in doing some trainings for some doulas, which is another area of need in Washington County, and trying to really focus on those who come from the BIPOC community so that we can broaden that base and serve more families and serve them in a way that fits their needs and how they feel that they can best be healthy and come into the world with their new baby and be in a successful environment. And then finally, we're currently engaged in doing a deep assessment at the direction of this board, in fact, around Black perinatal health and the birth experience. And we're getting a lot of good engagement with that community, and we're really hopeful to see the fruits of that come to fruition over the next couple months here and determine what direction we should be moving as a department to respond to that need.
Thank you, Genevieve, Rebecca, and Evan. I will now turn it over to Dr. Folu Adeni. No, yay. I'm going to get it right one day. Dr. Folu, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary. Good morning, Chair Harrington and Board of Commissioners. National Public Health Week, April 3 to 9, 2023. I am Dr. Folu Adeni, the Public Health Deputy Division Manager for Washington County. And I'm going to read the proclamation. Whereas the week of April 3 to 9, 2023 is National Public Health Week, and the theme is centering and celebrating cultures in health. And whereas Washington County Public Health works in partnership with communities to improve and protect the public's health through prevention, policy, regulation, and education. And whereas healthy people and healthy communities provide a foundation for a strong, diverse, and vibrant society. And whereas we recognize Black, Indigenous, Latino, AX, immigrants and refugees, and other people of color have the wisdom, skills, and talents to empower and meaningfully engage with their communities to address the root causes of systemic health disparities and health inequities. And whereas, although Washington County has made great strides with partners to improve the health and well-being of our community over the past 20 years, we still face public health challenges, including inequitable birth outcomes, adverse childhood experiences, educational disparities, and disproportionate burden of diseases by race, ethnicity, and income status. And whereas a person's health status can differ drastically by zip code due to differences in the built environment, environmental quality, community context, and access to healthy food, education, quality childcare, and healthcare. Whereas Washington County Public Health is committed to engaging authentically with the community to provide culturally responsive and linguistically appropriate programs and services that are effective, equitable, and responsive to diverse cultural health beliefs, practices, and health literacy, and leading with race to achieve health equity. Now, therefore, be it resolved that on this day, 4th day of April 2023, the Washington County Board of Commissioners, acting as the local public health authority, does hereby proclaim the week of April 3 to 9, 2023 as National Public Health Week in Washington County.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the broad overview as well, bringing to life the work that you do each and every day to ensure that our community members have the opportunity for a good life and to thrive. Commissioners, I would like to turn it over to see if you have any questions or comments before I ask for a motion to adopt said proclamation.
Thank you, Chair Harrington. I have just a few comments. Thank you for your great presentation and the proclamation. I think it was very well said and well put together and succinct. Genevieve, I just wanted to give a shout out to you. I think we worked on the contact tracing project together, so I think more importantly, I just wanted to give a shout out to you and say we did a great thing, and I'm so glad that public health was there for our community, and no doubt we saved so many lives in Washington County because of public health. And unfortunately, the pandemic made it public health be sexy, so there's that, but I really couldn't be more proud to be a comrade and a colleague with you all that do public health. And just a shout out to maternal child health folks. I sit on the maternal mortality and morbidity committee, review committee, and is the less, the dreadful work of the death and the mortality and morbidity piece of it. But what comes up is through that committee when we're investigating cases and why it happened is the work that you all do and the systems and the outreach and the advocacy that you do for parents out there to try to save lives. So just know that in those hard conversations and hard topics, you all come out maternal health workers from the public health lens. So good work, and I know on that board there's a lot of physicians, and they're always singing your accolades. So good work, you're saving lives, your work matters, and I'm really appreciative to all of you. And with that, I'll stop talking and say, and nice to meet you, Doctor. We'll all get it right, your name soon, all of us. I know it took, I have a hard name too, and so is Commissioner Willie, but we're in this together. So.
That's why they just call me chair. It's Go ahead, Commissioner Treese.
I just want to underscore my appreciation as well. I started my career as a health educator, and I know the value of public health from a long perspective. You've been there in so many ways through so many issues, whether it's HIV-related issues, whether it's COVID issues, whether it's measles outbreak, whatever it might be, as well as that baseline of public health that's so important to all of us. You are really such an important integral part of how we serve our community. So thank you for your hard work. Thank you for your dedication. It is much appreciated.
Any other commissioner questions or comments? Okay. I have a question and a comment. And I think my question really exemplifies that I continue to learn more about the great work that you do and stand to benefit by learning more. It's related to two of the early slides in your presentation that talked about your securing a federal grant for expanding health literacy and the outcomes from that. And really terrific work. Thank you. If I understood, let me just outline what I thought I heard, and I may not have heard this correctly. I thought I heard it was a 2-year grant, and we've done a lot over these years with your recommendations and options that you have provided to us as the board to continue to invest in the methods for positively delivering outcomes for more in our community. So my question is, on the bullet for built capacity of 11 community health workers, I wasn't sure if that meant through this short-term grant that there were 11 new community health workers, which is good, but then there's my concern about, okay, what happens after the funding cycle? Do they have careers that get picked up by other agencies, or do we say, thank you so much for pursuing this career? Our hands are tied. So could you help me better understand that?
Sure. I think that's an excellent question, and I think that's something that we and our partners are grappling with. I use the term built capacity because not only did we hire 11 community health workers through this grant, but we also did a series of trainings and workshops that received credit to really build up their professional development. We are also this month going to be doing sustainability training for organizations. So part of this grant was building organizational capacity to support community health workers, because community health workers working in the community, their roles look different than those that are working in the healthcare setting or with public health. And there's really specific things that community organizations can do to support that workforce. So we're really trying to look holistically at the workforce. We are also in conversations with health systems and internally to think about how are we prioritizing this workforce. It was, to use Commissioner Fai's word, it was very sexy during the pandemic. They really served our community and stepped up in a way that, that really helped us reach communities that we otherwise wouldn't reach. And as pandemic funding comes to an end, it's important to think about how they can support our work in other ways and how we can support this workforce. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you for bringing that to further clarity for me. I appreciate that. We continue our efforts in investing in the workforce, not only our direct employee base, but also through other programs to ensure that there is a community workforce to deliver services that are needed for a healthy community. So thank you. I also want to contribute a comment. I appreciate, Dr. Bowman, through your leadership, how our public health team is working and helping to lead our climate change work, and doing so with a public health viewpoint. Because who are we as people if we don't have our public health? And so I really appreciate your leadership, and to all members of the team for continuing to further our work to center equity in the broad portfolio that is Washington County, particularly as the Health and Human Services Department and the Sheriff's Office of the wider Public Services Department. We're really the first to lead with our equity work, and now it's taking hold across all of our departments, such as we heard earlier in the Housing Authority meeting with our housing department. So thank you for continuing to lead. It's really so beneficial. With that, we have a proclamation that has been read, and I would ask the commission for a motion to adopt said proclamation.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. And if you might join us down on the floor so that we could get a photo to mark this occasion. Thank you.
will say that for the. And hey there, team. So if you would like to have two lines, actually, if everyone who knows themselves to be short would like to come forward, and then everyone else can kind of squish in together, that would be fantastic. I'm really proud of you all. Good job. If everyone can take a step to your left, actually, we're going to.
See, that wasn't hard. This is how we at Washington County get to celebrate with our employees who do this tremendous work in service to our community. So thank you to our staff. That was the first of 3 proclamations we have today. Next, we're going to touch on housing, and I would like to invite Director Comey Calavar, our awesome rock star director of our housing department, along with key staff, to help us proclaim April 2023 as Fair Housing Month here in Washington County. Welcome.
Good morning, Chair Harrington and Commissioners. My name is Comey Calavar, Housing Director. So the Department of Housing and Community Development, Washington County, we are jointly trying to bring awareness to celebrate April as Fair Housing Month. So fair housing laws help protect marginalized communities, parents with children, and many others from housing discrimination. Fair housing also provide access to a broad range of housing for the whole community. So as you know, housing is foundational to community stability and livability. And many of our policies and procedures in housing and also community development are developed with fair housing in mind. So with that, I'd like to hand you to my colleagues here, Liz and Shannon.
Hi again. So in 2023 brings us 55 years of the Federal Housing Act. Nationally, the HUD has this theme for this year's Choices for All Voices, Building Equitable Future. And the Fair Housing Council of Oregon's theme is Community Includes All of Us. So annually, Oregon receives over 1,500 calls, emails, and claims about fair housing, and we know that not are all documented. So we utilize and support agencies like the Fair Housing Council of Oregon to help educate staff, renters, landlords, home buyers, and social service providers to ensure that we are providing that equal access.
Good morning, Chair Harrington and Commissioners. My name is Shannon Wilson. I'm Program Manager with the Office of Community Development here at the county. And I just wanted to, I'm excited to be here today with my colleagues in the Department of Housing Services to jointly bring this proclamation to your board for consideration for Fair Housing Month. And I wanted to highlight some of the activities that will be occurring this month. Both of our departments work very closely with the Fair Housing Council of Oregon. And so actually tomorrow with the Planning Commission for the county, there will be a training on fair housing for that group that our staff will be attending as well. And then actually this afternoon, beginning this afternoon and through April 14th, there will be an installation here in the Public Services Building of banners that are related to an installation called Anywhere But Here, the history of housing discrimination in Oregon. So that'll be displayed here in the Public Services Building as part of the celebration for Fair Housing Month. And then I also wanted to highlight as one of the several ways our office works to promote fair housing in the community is that we partner with the other entitlement jurisdictions for the federal funds we administer. So we partner with Beaverton and Hillsboro on a joint contract together with the Fair Housing Council of Oregon to do pairs testing in our community. And so that's a very important activity to determine how the Fair Housing Act requirements and regulations, how they're actually playing out in our local community. And so that contract is in place now, and we will be able to report back on that testing near the end of this calendar year. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. And then I believe Clerk Moss will be reading the proclamation this morning. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Shannon. Proclamation, Board of Commissioners for Washington County Fair Housing Month, April 2023. Whereas the year 2023 marks the 55th anniversary of the passage of the Federal Fair Housing Act, Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968 as amended, and whereas this law guarantees that housing throughout the United States should be made available to all community members without regard to race, color, religion, gender, familial status, disability, or national origin. And whereas the Oregon Fair Housing Law guarantees that housing throughout the state of Oregon should be made available to all community members without regard to marital status, sources of income, sexual orientation, including gender identity, and survivors of domestic violence. And whereas equality of opportunity is the fundamental policy of this nation, state, and county. And whereas barriers which diminish the rights and limit the options of community members will ultimately diminish the rights of community members. And whereas only with cooperation, commitment, and support from all of the residents of Washington County can barriers to the enjoyment of this and all other aspects of equality, opportunity for all be removed. Now, therefore, be it resolved that this 4th day of April 2023, the Washington County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim April 2023 to be Fair Housing Month and encourages all community members to support and endorse fair housing, reaffirm this commitment to fair housing for all, and wholeheartedly recognize these rights and responsibilities throughout the year.
Thank you, Clerk Moss, and thank you to our staff for being here today to bring this to life for us. Commissioners, do you have any comments you'd like to share before I ask for a motion? Seeing none, I would like to ask for a motion to adopt today's proclamation so that we can proclaim April 2023 Fair Housing Month in Washington County today.
So moved.
We have a motion from Commissioner Rogers, a second from Commissioner Fye. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand. Thank you. Commissioners, any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. And thank you for doing this work each and every day. Next, we'll move on to something related but different here with Ms. Shannon Wilson, the Program Manager for our Office of Community Development, to proclaim the week of April, well, not quite the week, I think, of April 10th through April 14th as National Community Development Week here in Washington County. Ms. Wilson, please.
Yes, and thank you for the opportunity to be with you for this proclamation as well. I do have a brief report for you, and then following that, then Commissioner Treese will read the proclamation. So first, the Community Development Week is celebrated nationally, and the main impetus for celebrating this week is to highlight the impacts of two important federal programs that bring significant funding into Washington County. So those are the Community Development Block Grant Program and the Home Investment Partnerships Program. And so for this coming fiscal year, 2023-2024, the Community Development Block Grant Program will bring in just over $3 million between allocations to our county and then to the cities of Beaverton and Hillsboro. And so all of those projects that are supported by CDBG or Community Development Block Grant funds, they really benefit low and moderate income households. And so those funds support important public services as well as really key infrastructure and facilities projects, in addition to our single-family housing rehab project, which we administer in-house. And actually, before I get too far, I did want to highlight staff that are here. The Office of Community Development is a small but mighty team here at the county. And so I did want to highlight the staff who are able to join us today. So we have Lauren Thomas and our two Brians, so Brian Johnson and Brian Fogg. So thank you. So I wanted to feature just a couple of the projects that are supported with the Community Development Block Grant funds. The first one of those is Project Homeless Connect. And so on the slide, there are some photos of the first in-person event they've been able to have since the pandemic, so since 2019. And I think your board is aware, but this is a one-stop shop for people experiencing homelessness, where they can get access to many resources, from as varied as assistance with their pets that they may have, to haircuts, to the vision check, as you can see in the central photo there, as well as access to housing as well. So that is an organization that has been supported with block grant funds. Another project is an infrastructure project in the city of Cornelius. And so this is a project that will be underway this calendar year, and it is to install a roundabout in a key area that is nearby a large shopping center for the city of Cornelius. And so benefits the existing low and moderate income neighborhood there, and then also will support future development. So immediately adjacent to the roundabout, construction is underway on an affordable housing project, Plaza Los Amigos, which is also being supported by County Metro Affordable Housing Bond Funds and the Housing Production Opportunity Fund. And so in this instance, the Community Development Block Grant funds are really further benefiting and leveraging this other investment that the county is making in the city of Cornelius to further enhance the community and the livability of that city.
Can I ask a quick question on that,
Yes.
that project that you just have up there? How many units are in there?
Plaza Los Amigos has 113 units, I believe.
I just drove by there yesterday. It's really coming up quickly, so.
Yes, they're doing a lot of the framing. I believe it's up to the 3rd story. I believe it will be a 4-story project, but yeah.
Looks great.
Yeah, so the roundabout will really be a great, really improve the traffic flow too for the existing community and then for those future residents as well. The next project I wanted to feature that is funded with Community Development Block Grant funds is the Housing Rehabilitation Program, and that is the one that our staff in-house in our office do directly. And so there's some pretty dramatic before and after pictures there on your slide. So that is actually of a home where you can see clearly there's mold in the bathroom, but that was caused by a roof that was leaking and roof damage. And so through that housing rehab program, which provides both grants, either a grant or low interest loans, depending on the income level and an age of the individual in the household, then those housing repairs can occur. And so that's just one example of the many households that are assisted with that program. And then moving on to the HOME program, it's the full name is the Home Investments Partnership Program, but it's most frequently known as just HOME. And that supports the production of regulated affordable housing within Washington County. And so for this upcoming fiscal year, the county received an allocation of nearly $1.8 million. And so one thing I wanted to call out about these HOME funds is, as you know, there's to produce an affordable housing project, there's a variety of funding sources that go into it, and HOME is a component of that. But one thing unique about the HOME funds is that it is often the first money into a project. And so it often funders like to be the last money into the project, once it's already kind of solidified, once the project is clearly moving forward and has some momentum. But these HOME funds are really unique in the sense they can be used when a project is really just getting started, and it can be some of the first money, and that really lends credibility to a project, that demonstrates that the project has been through its first underwriting and is really beneficial to projects within our county. And there are many HOME projects that our office has supported, but I just wanted to feature one here for you today, which is the Tigard Senior Housing Project, which is currently under construction. So it is a current photo there on your slide. And it is 57 units for older adults in the city of Tigard. And HOME funds are paired with Metro Affordable Housing Bond Funds, state and city resources, housing production opportunity funds from the county, and then private loans. And this project, as I said, is under construction and will be completed later this calendar year. And so finally, I wanted to end my presentation just highlighting the value of this proclamation. So proclaiming Community Development Week really provides an opportunity to recognize the importance of these two federal programs, the Community Development Block Grant Program and the Home Investment Partnerships Program, and the impact that they have within Washington County and the investments that we're able to make and support other investments that the county is making with other funds to really leverage a large impact in the county. So with that, I want to thank you for your time today and thank Commissioner Treese for her service on the Policy Advisory Board, which oversees this work. And Commissioner Treese will read the proclamation. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing this to life, and I appreciate your recognizing Commissioner Treese serving as our board liaison to that important committee that invests the time year over year in reviewing project grant applicants and making the most of these community improvement funds. Please take it away.
Thank you. And before I read the proclamation, I also want to give a shout out to the staff, to you, Shannon, and to the board, the PAB board, for the work that goes on. It's really a great group, and I think it's evidenced by the fact that we meet quorum all the time. People attend, they're engaged, and there's always help for helping us with the Zoom grants, so thank you. So with that, the proclamation, Board of Commissioners for Washington County, National Community Development Week, April 10th through April 14th, 2023. Whereas the week of April 10th through April 14th, 2023 has been designated as National Community Development Week by the National Community Development Association to celebrate the Community Development Block Grant Program and the Home Investment Partnerships Program, and whereas the CDBG program provides annual funding and flexibility to local communities to provide decent, safe, and sanitary housing, a suitable living environment, and economic opportunities to low and moderate income people. And whereas the Home Investment Partnership Program provides funding to local communities to create, did I just read that? I think it's the same thing. Decent, safe, affordable housing opportunities for low-income persons. Nationally, over 1 million units of affordable housing have been completed using home funds. And whereas over the past 5 years, Washington County has received over $10.7 million in CDBG funds and over $8.5 million in home funds. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Washington County Board of Commissioners designates the week April 10th through April 14th, 2023 as National Community Development Week in support of these two valuable programs that have made tremendous contributions to the viability of the housing stock, infrastructure, public services, and economic vitality of our community. Be it further resolved that this community urges Congress and the administration to recognize the outstanding work being done locally and nationally by the Community Development Block Grant Program and the Home Investment Partnerships Program by supporting increased funding for both programs in fiscal year 2024.
Thank you, Commissioner Treese. Commissioners, do you have any comments or questions before I ask for a motion? Do we have a motion to adopt this proclamation as read?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, Commissioners. Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously, 5-0. Thank you to our staff for the work you do each and every day and for bringing this to life for us today. Next, I'd like to move on to boards and commissions, and we have a broad suite of appointments to make for our various district committees that help us with our all-important budget committee work. We have a proposal before us to appoint 2 residents of the community to the Washington County and Service District for Lighting No. 1 Combined Joint Committee. They are Joe Everton and Karen Boland. to fill positions with terms that expire June 30th of 2025. So that's 3 years. To also appoint 3 residents of the county to the Enhanced Sheriff's Patrol District and Urban Road Maintenance District Combined Budget Committee. They are Richard, also known as Dick Steinbrugge, Melissa Laird, and Bruce Dickinson, to fill positions on this budget committee with terms that expire June 30th of 2025. And lastly, to appoint 2 residents of the community to the North Bethany Service District for Roads Budget Committee. They are Mahesh Udata and Bruce Young, to fill positions with terms that expire June 30th of 2025, and those appointments would join the other members of the committee also on those said budget committees. Before I ask for a motion to move forward with these appointments, could I ask a question of you, Ms. Angie? I just want to make sure that as we continue to increase our collaborative work on these budget committees, providing transparency and openness for our community members, that each of these committee members is aware of the fact that they will need to attend these meetings in person with the hybrid meeting utilization held primarily for our community member access, but also for those exceptional, those few atypical situations where board members or budget committee members can only attend that particular evening virtually. So I just want to make sure we have that assurance.
Thank you, Chair Harrington. Yes, Mr. Munn, our CFO, will be following up with each of the committee members. Number one, as your board is aware, we are holding 2 orientation sessions. I do want to point out for members of the public, those will be on April 20th and April 27th. Those are not only just open to our budget committee, but they are open to members of the community as well. So community can attend virtually too, but also welcome to attend in public.
Wonderful, thank you. It's an intense month. Well, that actually starts off, as Ms. Angie said, in April, but May is going to be quite intense as we hear great presentations on the proposed budget and go through some really useful Q&A. So without further ado, do we have a motion to appoint the members to these 3 budget committee members as highlighted earlier?
So move.
We have a motion from Commissioner Willie, a second from Vice Chair Rogers. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, Commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. Next, we will move on to our one action item, and that is to adopt an amendment to the Washington County fiscal year, our current fiscal year of 2022-2023, the fee schedule related to the land use compatibility statements, also referred to as LUCS. So welcome, Ms. Wardell. Could you please highlight this action further?
Absolutely. My name is Erin Wardell. I'm the Planning and Development Services Manager here at Washington County. Today we have for you a proposed minor amendment to our fee schedule. Recent state rules require applicants for a psilocybin facility to obtain what is called a land use compatibility statement from the relevant local jurisdiction. We refer to those as LUCS. The LUCS essentially says the local jurisdiction approves and says that this is compatible with local land use requirements. The current fee schedule addresses LUCS required by the state for marijuana facilities, but did not specifically reference psilocybin facilities because that wasn't a thing until recently. So we are proposing that we amend our fee schedule to make the language more generic so that we don't end up in this situation again. So our proposed language is up here on the screen. It essentially says, if you need any kind of a land use compatibility statement, here's the fee for that service. This is something that's processed by our current planning section, and they are based on a cost recovery schedule, so we're looking to recover staff time to process these forms. And with that, Our requested action is for you to approve the proposed amendment to our 22-23 fee schedule. I will point out that for the next fiscal year, we already have this generic language. We just realized that we needed to approve this year's fee schedule as well.
Quick question. Does this pertain countywide or only for our urban unincorporated areas and rural areas?
Only urban unincorporated and rural, so only areas where we have land use authority.
Thank you. That's not quite highlighted in the worksheet that I have before me nor in the presentation, so I appreciate your making sure I know what my action will apply to. Thank you. Commissioners, any further questions or comments?
Yeah, I guess saying that and clarifying that, thank you. So the cities have basically the same, is it the same fee?
I can't speak to what each individual city's fee is, but the cities have the same requirement from the state that they would have to process this LUCS form, and so they would have their own fee schedule for how they handle them.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right. Do we have a motion to adopt the proposed amendments to the current fiscal year fee schedule related to land use compatibility statements?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Treese, a second from Commissioner Willie. All those in favor, please vote by raising your hand or saying aye. Thank you, Commissioners. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously 5-0. Next, we have our second opportunity for public communication. This is an opportunity to speak to the board for up to 5 minutes each. Clerk Moss.
Thank you, Chair Harrington. We had 2 sign up in the room, so Marcus Mundy and Sam Diaz, please come to the testimony table.
Okay. All right. Good morning, afternoon, morning. Hello today, Chair Harrington, members of the commission. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Marcus Mundy. I'm with the Coalition of Communities of Color. Today is April 4th. Martin Luther King was assassinated on this day 55 years ago. I was in the 4th grade. I remember standing outside and getting the news. He died trying to fight for change against the racist, complacent system that wanted to maintain the status quo because change was hard and complicated. I thought about that as I looked at today's agenda, and I was struck by today's agenda. There were things there, proclamations on public health, on Fair Housing Month, on National Community Development Week, and these are things that your community-based organizations in Washington County have assiduously worked on. But it seems that most of these things that BCC wants to affect is for the Black and brown residents of the jails and the correctional facilities in Washington County. I would like you all to consider other options for the ARPA funding. As you may hear from testimony later, the community cares about this issue. I'm here to renew my objection to the board's apparent decision to take ARPA funding intended as a one-time infusion of support for community to use as a hole filler for capital planning over decades that didn't take place. I'm not sure that ARPA laws or our own congressional delegation who fought for this had that in mind. I'm also here to respond to a lament from a commissioner regarding choices. The community has provided solutions. The commissioners just don't like them because it would require creativity, sacrifice, some discomfort, and a belief in a future reward. I'm just going to end on a personal note, again on a day where sacrifice is on top of my mind. My parents were from the deep segregated South, Louisiana, and like Chair Harrington, Alabama. They had 9 kids who were determined to go to college, and they could have picked their favorite child, which likely would have been me, and said, we're going to fund him to go to college. But they decided to try to fund all of us. And they did that. They chose to figure it out, how all of us could go. So between scholarships and grants and work study and jobs, and yes, commissioners, debt was incurred to ensure that all of us could go to college, not just some of us. It took creativity, it took sacrifice and intent, but we all went. We all shared in the sacrifice, but because it was for our collective future. I hope as you consider these ARPA choices, you weave in the longer-term greater good of our county instead of the ephemeral sugar high of short-term gratification of an artificially balanced budget. Yes, our little ragtag group will submit a proposed alternative budget for your perusal shortly, but an openness of attitude is what we seek. Your Washington County community cares too much to let this issue subside. Please join us in seeking a balanced alternative and allow the CFO, the facilities manager, the sheriff, and whomever else touched this decision on your staff to work with us to try to come up with a solution. So thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mundy, for sharing your opinions and viewpoints with us. Mr. Diaz.
Okay, good morning, Chair Harrington and Commissioners Fye, Willie, Treese, and Rogers. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. I am Sam Diaz, Executive Director for 1000 Friends of Oregon. And I just want to say I'm very heartened by our membership. It was on a Tuesday evening in this room that our members heard of the public testimony about the ARPA funding and connected some dots. So I'm here to say we care. We're also concerned about a pattern, and that's the budget deficit in Washington County and maybe some of the factors at play that are causing this repeated deficit in the budget. And that has to do, from our members' perspective, about sprawl, of how much costs and how much debt service is added to the county's budget because of recurring infrastructure decisions, like the Tile Flat Road that our members care so deeply about, or the Cornelius Pass Road that our members care deeply about. We are learning about the consequences when there is a budget deficit. And we're learning about the consequences when we're all forced to have to use the ARPA funding, which was passed to help communities recover and rebuild from a global pandemic, to plug in the gaps in the budget. So we encourage Washington County to choose investments that set us up for success, that boost this county for years to come, that maybe can use this one-time funding that is from ARPA to help communities, local businesses, including our farmers, add revenue sources, grow revenue sources for the county. We have some ideas that we'd love to work with your staff on to help leverage this funding for new acts, because at the time ARPA passed, we didn't have the CHIPS and Science Act. We didn't have the Inflation Reduction Act. We didn't have the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. So now we have billions of dollars from Congress and President Biden's administration to jumpstart our economy now that we're after the years of lockdown. What an amazing opportunity that we have to work with our community to use this one-time funding to boost the budget so we can correct this pattern of a budget deficit. So let's put these applications together. We need to work with each other, community, local businesses, and our officials. And we know there are so many proven track records of successes. So we hope that we can establish an open line of communication to rewrite the proposal. So appreciate the consideration and the opportunity today to testify. And again, 1000 Friends will always be here in Washington County, a place where we've lost, unfortunately, 23% of our farmland in just the last 5 years. So we deeply care about this county. We thank you for your service, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Mr. Diaz, for your comments, and I would like to thank each of these two gentlemen for being leaders in our community, but more importantly, for joining us in person to share your thoughts and comments with us today. Also related to said comments, Ms. Angie, I would like to lift up the great and thorough comprehensive response that our staff members, particularly our communications director, Philip Bransford, is providing to constituents who have written to us about our proposal for our framework for the Tranche 2 ARPA funding. And I would ask that you provide this board with an opportunity to have a presentation of these key points that discuss the role of mandated maintenance of congregate facilities, how the U.S. Department of Treasury defined the final rules following the federal legislation so that our congregate living facilities do have the appropriate ventilation improvements for congregate settings, healthcare settings, and other key locations, including capital investments in public facilities to help meet current and future pandemic operational needs with physical plant improvements so that we are able to continue to operate in the face of the continued presence of COVID-19 in our community, but also be well-positioned for future disease outbreaks moving forward, which is part of the definition of resilience from this legislation. I would also like to lift up the work that our facilities staff has done over the years to maintain the buildings and their systems and to help us navigate the fact that these facilities are at, or these systems in these facilities are at the end of their useful lives. Our staff has done exemplary work in keeping these systems operational during the very trying time of the COVID pandemic, and we do need to make improvements to ensure that these facilities can continue to serve our community as we move forward with our current service levels and the face of future challenges. So I just, commissioners, I trust that we can provide the direction and ask Ms. Angie to come to us in next week's meeting with a presentation that will highlight this information further. Because while there are many opinions and various truths, there is just one set of facts. And we need to continue all of our communication efforts to make sure that our community members have the full benefit of that set of facts. Does that sound reasonable, Ms. Angie?
It does. I will ask that Philip Bransford, Rachel Fuller, Courtney Van Drusen, and also Laurel Brown co-present that presentation. Those individuals are communications, Rachel Fuller, who is overseeing ARPA, Courtney from County Council, as well as Laura Brown, our facilities manager. In addition, since you had referenced in the public meeting the response that has been sent to constituents, we will update, Clerk Moss, if you could update the packet with that response, so that is already available to the public prior to that presentation.
And I also need to correct myself. I would like that presentation to be at our next board public meeting, which is not next Tuesday. It's the Tuesday after, April 18th.
The weeks blend together for me, so I was following the board meeting, but yes.
Thank you so much. A little bit more time there. So I appreciate that. And while I realize we just gave direction to extend that meeting even further, I appreciate our team's efforts to help us be as open and transparent as possible. That brings us to board announcements. And as such, I will be sure to follow our charter and articulate our upcoming meetings. This Thursday, April 6th, we will have a training session as the Board of Directors of Clean Water Services. That will take place at our field operations building on Merlot Court in Beaverton, and give us the opportunity to get up close and personal with the great equipment that our staff uses each and every day to service our community out in the field. Tuesday, April 11th, we have a full day of work sessions starting at 9. The following Tuesday, April 18th, which I think is tax day. Oh, day before, the 17th. But anyway, we'll meet on April 18th with a work session starting at 9, board meeting following at 10, and then reconvening in work session. On Thursday, April 20th in the evening at 6 p.m., we will have our orientation part 1 for our budget committees. Then on Tuesday, April 25th, we have our work session in the afternoon starting at 2, our board meeting, that evening at 6:30. And on Thursday, April 27th, we have budget committee orientation part 2. That would be 2, starting at 6 p.m. Did I forget something?
No, I was going to ask you, a question, but I've since forgot it. So I'll
That's
ask
okay,
you-
we
I'll
have a
ask you in
work
few minutes.
session later, and you can ask me then. That will be fine. Are there any other board announcements today? Nope. So before we adjourn, we do have an executive session, so 2 of them back to back. So I would like to ask for a motion to adjourn to each of those executive sessions. Should I do that this way or wait until we're in the room?
Why don't you wait until we get into
Okay, great. But just putting out there that we have 2 back-to-back executive sessions that we'll be going to, and then we will still need to have a lunch break, so I'm not sure if we will be time certain at 1 p.m. because we do need to make sure we have at least 45 minutes up to an hour for our lunch break. Okay, so seeing no further board announcements, do we have a motion to adjourn today's April 4th, 2023 Board of Commissioners meeting?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Treese, a second from Commissioner Willie. All those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye. Thank you, Commissioners. Any opposed? We are hereby adjourned. Thank you.